Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful Friday morning, a good day to be alive and to rise and shine wherever you are. I think I'm delighted that it's Friday. My name is Yanek and I am very thankful to be here this morning.
I think some people woke up on the right side of the bed and they just can't wait for a weekend to come. Well, thank God though. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God some people will be resting. Thank God some people will be having a lot of fun. But of course, that's how it's supposed to be. Glad to have you join us. It's the Friday edition of Rise and Shine, coming to you live on Spectrum TV. Of course, you know, we're broadcasting live from the very beautiful city of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. My name is Francis Oyima Adet. I'm glad to have you joined us today.
Of course, we will not forget to remind you to be a part of the growing community. So like, share, comment across all our social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtvlive.ng. Also, take advantage of our Twitter handle at SpectrumTv Online. Comment real time. Our phone lines will be displayed in the course of the program. Please take advantage of it. Call us in if you have concerns and contributions to make. Send us WhatsApp messages and we'll take your concerns and responses real time as we journey on in the show. Of course, it's Friday morning and there's a lot of things happening in Nigeria. Yesterday was a very big day for Nigeria, for Nigerians. It was a big day for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Someone said yesterday all of the cat and mouse race has finally been put to rest as the Supreme Court upheld the victory of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the February 25 elections. And it's like we've rested one issue. Now let's make progress.
Well, one thing that is definitely certain is the fact that Ahmed Bola Tinubu, you know, is at peace, because he jokingly told his aides yesterday, you guys, your job is secure now, so you can rest your head. I mean, now that goes to speak a lot. Many people will say it was a joke, but just like I said yesterday, one way or the other, regardless of, you know, being addressed as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as long as the case was still on in court, Ahmed Bola Tinubu possibly had fears and concerns somewhere that there is that likelihood of, you know, the case being upturned by the Supreme Court, in which case it would be a very serious issue. But be that as it may, we are looking at some of the biggest reactions coming from across the board: the Labour Party, the PDP, the APC family, all of the concerns that were raised. But the fight, the battle, the litigations has been brought to a logical conclusion, with the Supreme Court upholding the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal verdict that, of course, held that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu was returned, elected President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria still stands. So it is a welcome development, however you want to see it. I know that the Labour Party presidential candidate's legal team spoke very, you know, disappointingly yesterday. That of the PDP also were disappointed as yesterday. But regardless of how things are playing out, we cannot take away the fact that Nigeria is going to experience some level of peace, some level of, you know, calm. And as far as the election brouhaha is concerned, or the petitions and appeal is concerned, we're going to have a final end. It's no longer going to be an issue to discuss because, I mean, the Supreme Court has spoken.
It's not going to be an issue to discuss. I like the way you put it that way. There's nothing to discuss here anymore. The Supreme Court has put it to rest. I know there were lots of concerns. You know, there are lots of speculations, but one thing that we can take home from here is the fact that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been told to, you know, join forces with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to make, you know, his administration successful, to make Nigeria successful. Peter Obi of the Labour Party has also been told the same thing. We would say that they have all run a worthy cause, but, you know, some of the other issues that were raised during the PBT appeal, the fact that the Supreme Court refused Atiku Abubakar the opportunity to tender a new evidence in court with regards to the case was a twist that, you know, in the weeks that have preceded the tribunal results, it was more like, you know, is the Supreme Court going to allow Atiku Abubakar to tender this. Is it even possible? And all of that. Remember, the presidency was really strong on, and the lawyers of of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they were like, you know, the courts are not going to accept this. They are not going to look into this. And finally, the Supreme Court did actually throw it out. They said there was no grounds to admit it, since the tribunal, the first sitting tribunal, you know, had not admitted it as an evidence. So all of that raised, all of those releases and all of those things came to an end. And there's been also this information making the rounds about certain documents that are to be released by, you know, an institution in the United States.
The FBI.
Yeah, the FBI, yes. You know, they're meant to release that document. So it's more like now that the Supreme Court has given their verdict, whatever documents are being released by the FBI, it's more like null and void. The first one that was released by the CSU, the Supreme Court of Nigeria did not even admit it to be used for anything. So that one just went its way. But this is how the case has gone up now. Does it leave any question in the minds of Nigerians, you know, with regards to judicial proceedings in our courts? Was that the best way to handle the issue? Does it leave any bitter, sour taste in the mouth of Nigerians? That will be something that Nigerians alone can really answer for us at this time. But remember some of the controversies that trailed all of the PPT, all eyes on the judiciary, you know, judges feeling threatened and all of that. All of this has been laid to rest. Can Nigerians truly say that the judiciary has upended the desires of all Nigerians with regards to the February 25 elections?
Well, of course, as far as yesterday's verdict is concerned, a lot of Nigerians are disappointed. We cannot take away the fact that Nigerians had expected and anticipated a lot, maybe a different verdict to come from the Supreme Court. But be that as it may, one thing that we cannot also forget is that the Supreme Court did admit to something that Nigerians are worried about. And they, of course, the Apex Court held that the unavailability or the non-availability of election result on IREV is a grave concern and could lead to Nigerians not having confidence on the electoral system and the electoral process. Now, that was one major cause for concern and one major bone of contention that was put forward by the presidential candidates of both the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party, Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, respectively. We cannot forget in a hurry Professor Mahmood Yakubu, the INEC chairman, and of course the different comment that came from the voter education representative from INEC, who consistently told Nigerians that, you know, election result was going to be transmitted through the, you know, the IREV, the viewing portal, and all of those technological innovations that, you know, they promised Nigerians. Of course, we saw that happening in Osun State and other by-season election before the main election that came in, the general elections before. Nigerians had that confidence, and of course you saw what happened across Nigeria, that after the first presidential election where the electoral results were not uploaded from the respective polling units, Nigerians didn't turn out again as expected, as they did during the presidential election day when voters turned out very much and large, the largest so far recorded in the history of Nigeria. Of course, that has been a very big concern that was raised. Now that the Supreme Court has also admitted, one would expect that the National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Rep, one would expect that INEC will go back and look into the things. It's some Nigerians and some analysts will say it's preemptive, because just last week, the National Assembly, Senate, came out to say they were considering, you know, making some changes to the 2022 Electoral Act, especially when it comes to the use of technology, when it comes to the updating of election results from the polling units to the collations at the different collation centers, down to the state level, down to the federal level. Now, the Supreme Court is also coming out to say that glitch, or that the inability of INEC to put forward those results has also contributed to the lack of credibility on the part of Nigerians as far as the electoral process is concerned. But be that as it may, the verdict has been given. Ahmed Bola Tinubu returned as the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His job is secured. That of his aide is secured. Now it's time for us to see how he's going to truly lead Nigerians as he has promised, and again reiterated yesterday that he's going to lead Nigerians beyond party lines, beyond ethnicity, beyond tribal sentiment, religious sentiments, and all the sentiments that have always over time had issues or pitch us against each other as far as Nigeria is concerned. So one would also say let the rest be given so that we can see the nation building. But asking the question, will presidential candidates of the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party be able to join forces with Ahmed Bola Tinubu? What is the extent of the olive branch, being extended to these different presidential candidates? And when you look into those politics, look at the appointment so far made by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, which of course it does not in any way align with his decision or his standpoint and promise to Nigerians that his government is going to be made up of people across party lines, then it's definitely a big question.
I think another, matter of concern that was raised at the Supreme Court. I know we've dealt with the fact that the CSU evidence was not, admitted in the court. We've also seen the fact that there was forfeiture of one certain $460,000 drug money. It was addressed at the Supreme Court yesterday. We also saw the fact that the Supreme Court addressed INEC's failure on e-transmission. But another bone of contention, Francis, is this matter of 25% in the FCT. Whether it was hidden somewhere in the Constitution before now became an issue in the February 25, 2023 elections. And in this circle of election petitions, we have seen that the Court of Jurisdiction in Nigeria has said that getting 25% in Abuja does not count as what instills you as the president, installs you rather as the appropriate winner of a certain election. And I know that there was in history there's an election that happened. The names of the candidates is eluding me right now, but it was at the time with regards to who got a certain percentage in Kano at the time. And it was also this kind of risk. Now the Court of Jurisdiction is saying that 25% in Abuja is not a case. Now, one thing that Nigerians will hope again is that going forward, we will not come to another circle of elections in this country. And it is only the lawyers that can interpret the law. They are the only ones that can give meaning to what is written in the Constitution. We hope that another cycle of election will not come, and it is another subsection and subdivision is found in the law to, interpret otherwise. But as it stands, the Supreme Court upheld yesterday that 25% from the FCT being won by any particular candidate does not make you the rightful winner of the election. That also was laid to rest. It was one of the strongest points in the arguments of the likes of Peter Obi of the Labour Party, but we see how that that didn't quite hold water and has been laid to rest. We're just going to see how this circle of election, we are going to see how it's going to impact on the next 4 years when it comes. What is going to be done differently? And I think unanimously, a lot of people, a lot of analysts are agreeing that we need to revisit the Electoral Act of 2022 because it has a lot of ambiguity in it that led to a lot of concerns in the just concluded season of election. But we must say at this time, congratulations to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Like Francis had rightly said, now the job is secure. Let's see how implementations are going to come to all of this. I know that there is a speech that the president did give yesterday. I don't know if we can lay hands on that particular speech this morning. It would be great to share it with our Rise and Shine family this morning. Of course, as it stands, the court said they have done justice to all issues raised against Tinubu by the two political parties and two contenders that brought it to court yesterday. Okay, that's basically it with regards to this case. Congratulations to Mr. President and everyone on his cabinet.
Well, it's congratulations to the president, and of course the congratulatory messages started, coming in since the Supreme Court gave its verdict. We saw the Senate president, Senator Godswill Obotokpabio, congratulating the president and hailing the verdict of the Supreme Court. We saw the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, also congratulating the president. We saw members of the APC We saw the likes of Wale Edun, Dr. Beta Edu, and other ministers, people within the cabinet of the president, congratulating the president on, the Supreme Court verdict. Of course, many would say it's a step in the right direction as far as many people in Nigeria is concerned. But we'll take a pause and give audio to the president's speech in reaction to the Supreme Court verdict.
This moment, we've concentrated on pulling Nigeria from the mood trap of depression, and we understand the sovereignty of the country. You don't need additional distraction to be able to concentrate on building a new economy for the people, an inclusive one for that matter. And the judgment of the Supreme Court put a stop to shenanigans, put a stop to innuendos, put a stop to lies or trial in the media and public place. The court has demonstrated indivisible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians, regardless of ethnic, religious, or any other biases. This moment.
And lost the 180 days donated to it by the Constitution before bringing the said deposition sought to be admitted in this court. It has to be noted that appeals are a continuation of hearing of the matter in the lower court. As was pointed out by the learned senior counsel for the first respondent, A.B. Mahmoud Essay, the presidential election was conducted on the 25th of February 2023, and the first respondent declared the second respondent as winner of the election on 1st March 2023. Thereafter, the appellant filed their petition at the registry of the court below on 21st March 2023. If I may ask, what attempts did the appellants make between the publication of the second respondent's form EC9 and accompanying documents in June 2022, more than a year ago, and the date of filing the petition on 21st of March 2023 to obtain the documents from Chicago State University, which could have been used at the trial court? Again, what attempts did the appellants make to obtain these documents between the date of filing the petition and the conclusion of trial? To say the least, the above questions are critical in the quest of this court's efforts to decide whether the new evidence sought to be adduced could have been obtained by the appellants with reasonable diligence for use at the trial. And with due respect to the appellants and their counsel, I think they were a bit tardy and were not reasonably diligent in their attempts at obtaining the documents which they seek to have this appeal. In Adeleke Aserifa Asupra, this court held that where the evidence is available and could with reasonable care and diligence be made available to the applicant at the time of the trial, as in this case, the court should refuse to exercise its discretion to receive such evidence. From all I have stated above, it is crystal clear that the additional evidence by way of the deposition of oath does not fit into the issues submitted for the determination of this appeal. The application, my lord, of the appellant applicants in the circumstance is hereby refused and lost the 180 days.
Of course, these are the verdicts as was read out at the Supreme Court yesterday, why the CSU certificates could not be admitted, time of filing and all of those things as involved. Well, would say that particular issues led to rest. The likes of contenders now in election petitions would also know what to do with regards to harvesting evidence for their cases when do you know that it would be admissible in a court of jurisdiction to help your case? That's another issue that we can look into here.
Well, it's a big problem, yeah. I know that within the course of these election petitions, challenges, I've been following, for instance, the case of Dr. Patrick Omo, who is one of the House of Rep members, bordering on his election and all the other issues surrounding his emergence as a representative of the Senodom Ika people. Of course, one of the biggest issue was bordering on the days that you were giving. After the court gives its verdict, there is a timeline for a certified true copy to be given, and there's a timeline for each case to be filed. So when you exit that timeline within which the Constitution has provided for you to file, it therefore means you've missed the target. And the challenge you might possibly face is what Atiku Abubakar and the Labour Party presidential candidates are facing. And recall when the legal team of the president, were making moves to stall the release of the CSU academic documents, this conversation came up across Nigerians, and expert has said, well, maybe Atiku Abubakar should, sheath his sword and resist the urge of continuing with the fight, because by the time it gets to a point where the expected time frame for you to file the case or bring in fresh evidence is elapsed, you cannot bring it out. It is not going to be admissible again. These are very serious concerns that boils down to the call for the reworking of the Nigerian Constitution. But of course, we saw that the Labour Party team had reacted, and they've described the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal as completely being anti-people and against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people, and then of course not in the interest of democracy. We'll just take a pause and listen to Kenneth Okonkwo, one of the Labour Party's representatives.
The fine imposed on the second respondent for the proceeds of narcotics and money laundering by the District Court of Illinois. I sat down too. I did not hear it. And I wonder whether that was swept under the carpet or was an oversight, because the lead judgment was detailed on all other issues. And they said all the issues there have been overtaken by event in all our own issues. And I did not hear the issue of the forfeiture. And so that's why I said I disagree respectfully, even though the decision is binding.
The 4% issue has also been led to that.
Of course, full credit is given to our sister station, Channels Television, for providing us access to that particular feed. Remember that Kenneth Okonkwo is a lawyer on the part of the Labour Party representing Peter Obi. Of course, he has also tendered some of his dissatisfaction with regards to the proceeding of the case, talking about certain issues that did not get a mention and, in his opinion, proper address in the process of looking through all of this. But of course, different parts and different parties are going to express dissatisfaction or satisfaction, as it were, with regards to the verdict given by the Supreme Court yesterday, upholding the victory of the APC presidential candidate in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who sits, like he said, rest assured now as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But as we said earlier, we've seen a lot of people flunk in to celebrate and give lots of remarks celebrating the president's winning of that election. And the likes of Nyesom Wike are top of that table. We also see the SGF and several speakers and governors visiting the Aso Villa to commemorate with the president on the Supreme Court's upholding of his victory.
Well, it is expected. I mean, this is their government. Each and every one of them is a part of this administration. And in the event that the Supreme Court had upturned the verdict of, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, their jobs would have been on the line, because you never can tell if Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi came in as the president. after the Supreme Court verdict. And then, of course, a certificate of return is being withdrawn from Ahmed Bola Tinubu and given to either of these two persons who were contesting the electoral victory. What that would mean is we probably would have seen a completely new setup, a shake-up when it comes to the people who have been appointed into government. So it's a great thing. It's something worthy of celebration. And like many Nigerians have said, it's about time for us to focus down, settle down, and see what Ahmed Bola Tinubu is truly going to do. Good thing is admitted that he was shaken by the fact that there is a possibility and likelihood of the election, results being overturned by the Supreme Court. Good thing it hasn't been overturned as far as some people are concerned. Good thing that we still have the move made so far by this present administration still intact. The people who have been entrusted with different portfolios in government still very much being able to sit on those seats and take decisions in those offices. So it's a welcome development either which way or however you see it. But one thing Nigerians would call on Ahmed Bola Tinubu now is you have been declared returned as the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now the court cases that were a distraction to you is no longer there. Let's settle down and focus on some of the biggest problems bedeviling Nigeria. The festivities are almost here. Yesterday we had Ibman talking about the need for the president to ensure that the NNPCL sell petrol and diesel directly to the independent marketers as against using the activities of middlemen, which of course has significantly contributed to the hike in petroleum product prices in Nigeria. Of course, Nigerians would expect that Ahmed Bola Tinubu will be able to address that within the course of the week or before next week comes in. Nigerians should wake up to a directive coming from the president's office mandating the NNPCL and putting an end to the continued holding to ransom of Nigerians, the continued exploitation of Nigerians by the elite of the elite as described by the president. And Nigerians would also expect that, this transformation will be seen and it will bring some level of hope and succor to the Nigerian people.
Of course, these are expectations that we have at this time. We'll just lay to rest on that particular story. We go to the very next one. We see the fact that the court leads IPOP ban, awards Kanu 8 billion naira in fees that he's meant to pay as bail at this time. Remember that Nnamdi Kanu's case was set for hearing at the court this season, and information coming out, we see that the ban has been lifted. Like we had said earlier on in this week, we need to see where this particular case goes so that we begin to see what life is going to be like in the southeast of Nigeria. What is, the economic activity going to be like once this ban has been lifted? What is the life of the Southeasterners now going to look like now that the ban has been lifted? With 8 billion naira given to Nnamdi Kanu, as fees to be paid, what is this going to do? Remember, at some point, the courts had already given him bail fees to pay, but he was still held down. There was just a lot of cases. So, but let's just give perspective to this. We see the fact that Justice A.O. Onovo of the Enugu State High Court on Thursday declared the proscription of the indigenous people of Biafra by the Alo Ejimako approached the courts to seek the reversal of the prescription. Now, Kanu sought the court's declaration that IPOB prescription was illegal as it was an organization composed of citizens of Nigeria of the Igbo and other Eastern Nigerian ethnic group professing the political opinion of self-determination. Of course, he prayed the court to declare his arrest and consequent detention and prosecution as illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional, and of course amounting to infringement of his fundamental human rights. Now we see the fact that this declaration of self-determination is not a crime and thus cannot be used as a basis to arrest, detain and prosecute Nnamdi Kanu. Now these were the statements that Nnamdi Kanu prayed the court with, but he prayed the courts to compel the defendants to pay him 8 billion naira in damages for the physical, mental and emotional, psychological trauma he was subjected to. Now, in the judgment delivered yesterday, Justice Onovo agreed with Kanu and declared IPOB prescription unconstitutional and illegal. He also ordered the defendants to pay him 8 billion naira in damages and to tender a public apology to him through newspaper publications. Now, addressing journalists shortly after the judgment, Kanu's lawyer Ejimako said, "We are grateful that justice has prevailed over this matter since 2017, Francis, and the court has reaffirmed the hopes of the common man in the judiciary. You have saved thousands of lives." The separatist agitation of the Southeast, referred to as the indigenous people of Biafra, as led by Nnamdi Kanu. The case was instituted since 2017. And Nnamdi Kanu has been back and forth in the coffers of the DSS, having issues with the federal government, being repatriated to the country and all of those things. At a certain time, he was granted bail but was denied being released from detention. And he's been there. The case has been set and adjourned and re-adjourned. But yesterday was the sitting to hear finally this case against Nnamdi Kanu by the federal government. And Justice Onovo has said that IPOB, cannot be referred to as a terror group. It is unconstitutional to refer to them as that, as like Nnamdi Kanu had explained, it is just a collection of people who have a certain political, leaning at this time. 8 billion naira to be paid to Nnamdi Kanu in damages. The federal government, the DSS. This is a big one. We must first of all say that this is a big win for Nnamdi Kanu and the entire people of the southeast of Nigeria. We needed to have seen videos of celebration springing out of different parts of the southeast at this time, because Nnamdi Kanu basically is their man, and to see that an end has come to this turmoil of how many years, 2017 to date, quite a number of years, and this has been put to rest.
Well, as far as Nigerians are concerned, the people have always called for leniency, for justice, for fairness and equity, as far as the instrumentality of the court is concerned, and the judiciary has always been on the scrutiny when cases like this come up, especially when the federal government is acting in contempt of court, court verdict being given. The federal government is not, adhering to those verdicts, which of course has been the case for the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Yes, celebrations across the southeastern part of the country and other parts of the country, because for one, the verdict has been given, but then there are some who are a little bit apprehensive about the fact that we might just see the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's led federal government might be toeing in the part of the former government, talking about the outgone administration of the then President Muhammadu Buhari. But of course, other group of persons across the board believe that Ahmed Bola Tinubu is going to do the honorable thing of adhering strictly to the verdict of the court. 8 billion naira is quite a huge sum of money to be paid as damages to IPOB Nnamdi Kanu. That's serious money, 8 billion. And as long as the case has been, laid to rest, I think it's another time for us to look at Nigeria as a country, look at some of the issues, some of the concerns that have risen, the things that have led to the different agitations that we've had across board. The Southeast agitation comes as a result of marginalization. It comes as a result of perceiving justice. Recall just after President Ahmed Bola Tinubu made the ministerial appointment, the Southeast had about 5, and other region had 7, some had 8, and that of course spoke again about the injustice, the marginalization given to the region. Just like we've had the Niger Delta region at some point also agitating, which at some point got drastically reduced with the creation of the Ministry of the Niger Delta, which of course is still a case for probing and investigation because of the poor level of infrastructural development within the Niger Delta region, regardless of how much is being voted to the NDDC and other agencies of government saddled with the responsibility of making sure this region is being taken care of. But be that as it may, Nigerians celebrate the verdict of the court. Nigerians look forward to seeing that verdict being upheld by the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's led administration. And Nigerians look forward beyond, upholding the verdict, behind implementing the verdict of the court, to the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's administration, looking at some of the key issues that have been raised, some of the key issues that has led to the separatist movement of the indigenous people of Biafra of course, other agitations happening across Nigeria, such as that. We also saw the agitation from the Yoruba extraction, led by Sunday Igalo, which has for some time now not really been in the spotlight for conversations. But be that as it may, I think this is another case that has been led to rest and is a win for democracy, is a win for the Nigerian society, is a win for the common man, and that win will only be confirmed and verified when the federal government, through the presidency of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, confirms and adheres strictly to the verdict that has been given. But there is something we cannot move away from talking about this morning, and that is the comment coming from Adrian Clark, that until the 1999 constitutions is reworked on and amended to suit Nigeria's, multifaceted needs, then we're still going to have the problem we are having with election. Now, like the case of the 25% mandatory win in the FCT, which has been a very serious concern until now, that the Nigerian judiciary have said you cannot say the FCT is bigger than any other state. The FCT is just like every other state. That's why you have the FCT minister. You always have 36 states of the federation and the FCT. And for the first time, Nigerians got a different interpretation of the word "and" as far as the constitution of the country is concerned, as far as the interpretation of the laws of the land is concerned. But of course, one thing is certain, in the coming days when elections are conducted and issues like this spring up again, we'll always have a reference to the verdict that has been given by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, the Supreme Court verdict. Of course, the lawyers will tell you there's always a case to quote. And now, for the first time, we have a case to quote as backup for when this kind of scenario actually plays out. But then, beyond all of the drama and all of the saga and all of the litigations that has come out of the just concluded 2023 elections, there is a clarion call, as posited by the electoral mission observers, that Nigeria needs a drastic change. The electoral institution needs a transformation, and we need to get to a point where those issues of concerns raised by Nigerians are holistically addressed. Thankfully, the Senate has already made that move, and we hope to see the transformation happening before we get to the next 4 years. It should not be something that the National Assembly wait for 3 months to the end of their 4 years tenure before they now begin to rally around and scamper around to ensure that those laws are put in place and then begin to make haphazard laws. But be that as it may, congratulations to Nigerians, congratulations to democracy, congratulations to the APC, and of course President Ahmed Bola Tinubu and his cabinet members. Let's get the work done and let's make Nigeria proud.
Let us renew the hope of Nigerians and Nigeria at this time. It is the promise that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given us. And moving away from that particular political story and all of the victory brought in for APC and Tinubu yesterday by the Supreme Court, we still have lots of problems on our hands with regards to forex and certain economic, tools in the country. There's still mixed feelings on CBN's forex ban reversal of 43 items, and we see major operators in the Nigerian maritime sector arguing back and forth over the decision of the new governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, to remove the ban on forex for imports of 43 items into the country. Now, some are of the opinion that the decision won't benefit the economy much. Others say it is a step in the right direction. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, precisely on the 12th of October 2023, announced that it had lifted the ban on the issuance of forex for importation of rice, again, vegetable oil, poultry products, among other 43 items. We do hope that they know that we cannot import poultry products at this time from South Africa, because that's another issue. When you open up the banks like this, people just attempt to begin to do all manner of things. We do hope that this window that has been open, importations are done from the best channels. Birds in South Africa are a no-go area. Well, we also see that this will drive, now people are saying this pronouncement will drive down the price of rice, the commonest food consumed by Nigerians, which is as high as 56,000 naira per bag as we stand. And so this is the case. This importation, how is it going to impact on the economy? How is it going to impact on the prices of commodities at the banks? in the market. Now, the Apex Bank disclosed this in a statement titled CBN Restates Commitment to Boost Liquidity in Forex Markets, signed by the Corporate Communications Issa Abdul Mumin. But let's see, importers of all the 43 items previously restricted by the 2015 circular and its addendums are now allowed to purchase foreign exchange in the Nigerian foreign exchange market to be able to import these things again.
Well, it's a cause for concern. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have said is not going to be of any benefit to Nigerians, especially at a point when we are trying to promote made in Nigerian product, made in Nigerian goods and all of that. But be that as it may, I think a lot of people will also lay credence to the fact that when we begin to import, it's going to force the prices of things down a lot. We know that the price of a bag of rice, for instance, went up from 7,000 plus to what it is today, gradually almost under progression as a result of the ban on importation of rice.
But wouldn't the price of Forex in the market, because I mean, a dollar is selling at 1,200 now to 1,200, 220 now. Is that not going to still impact on the prices? If we are importing at that price to Naira, at that price to dollar, it's still going to affect the price of these commodities when imported into the country. So it doesn't look like we are in a win-win situation here, however you look at it.
Well, most Nigerians wouldn't want to look at it until we actually get to see what is going to play out when the importation kickstart. But one thing that we kind of shy away from is the fact that the lifting of the Forex would also mean a lot of more pressure would be put on Forex needs by importers. It's not just going to be people within the petroleum sector and a few other sectors who have been available before now. So you're going to have the different subsectors, the 43 items joining the queue of people who need, Forex for importation into the country. But regardless, we've been told by others so that this is going to be a move that will help the Nigerian economy, that would, help transform the inflationary rate that we're currently experiencing and eventually work in the favor of the country. So all we can do is wait, watch, and see how that is going to play out. But those are the major conversations we've had this morning. It's about time to head on to Delhi Spotlight, where we'll be taking you around the front pages of our national dailies.
The only one allowed by Muslim. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Of course, Daily Spotlight bringing you information from the front pages of our national dailies. As expected, most of the front pages are washed with congratulatory messages for Mr. President on winning and being affirmed as the constitutionally elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We'll start first of all with the Nigerian Tribune. It's a full page of a congratulatory message there for Mr. President. I'm not sure we are going to be reading this, but says there Tinubu Victoria, says Supreme Court did justice on merits of law. Court dismisses Atiku Obi's appeals. Page 12 is where you can find the story. Mr. President, congratulations, Mr. President, on your Supreme Court victory. Of course, that by High Chief Government, okay, I'm not going to really do that this morning. Tom Polo, anyway, has sent the President congratulatory messages. That's all.
Polo. Well, it's an interesting twist to see congratulatory message coming from Ekpemi Opolo to alias Tom Polo to President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Lengthy congratulatory message there. We also see moving away from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, it seems that Nigerian Tribune dedicated its front page to the president this morning. Let's head to the front page of Daily Trust. On the front page of Daily Trust, we see Supreme Court upholds Tinubu's election, dismisses Atiku Obi's appeal. Let's build Nigeria together, President. Judgment disappointing, PDP. We are shocked, but we move on. Labour Party. Wait till 2031. APC tells Atiku Obi verdict a welcome relief. Former President Muhammadu Buhari. That story is on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And of course, there is another congratulatory message there, also still coming from Ekpemopolo, Tom Polo alias, still to the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Whoa.
Tom Polo, I'm sure Tom Polo bought like the front pages of so many dailies that someone just say congratulations. Let's see what the Daily Times says. Of course, the way the Daily Times put it this morning says it's Tinubu's Nigeria as Supreme Court affirms victory. I don't know if Nigerians are going to agree with Daily Times this morning. Is it Tinubu's Nigeria? Because if you say it's Tinubu's Nigeria, that can mean so many things. Well, I mean, that's what the front page of the Daily Times says. Apex Court violated Constitution, condoned forgery, says PDP. A shredded justice, dictatorship looms. Federal government to prosecute Obi, Abure, others, LP alleges. That's such a strong allegation raised by the Labour Party there. We also see here, try again in 2031, rejoicing APC mocks Atiku Obi. Of course, 2031 is another chance for the contenders to go work in their houses and come back for a good, clean fight at the polls. We also see here Mogalu appointed chairman of Pan-African body, APSS. That is all that we have on the front page of the Daily Times.
Well, moving from the front page of Daily Times, the next up is the front page of the Nation newspaper. We see the kicker there says triumphant Tinubu. See pages 3, 2, 3, 4 for the story. As far as the Supreme Court verdict is concerned, that's totally buying out the front page of the Nation this morning as well. We see Wike, I will support President again. No regrets for my actions. That story is on page 5. Of course, we see Aide Tifa apologizes to Akredo Lu. Turn of event embarrassing. That story is on page 41 of the Nation newspaper. We also see how blue economy will boost GDP by Oyetola. Page 25 has that story. Alafin, 5 Oyo Kingmakers sue Makinde, others. That story is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And we still see another congratulatory message there, right on the front page, still by Ekpemo Polo, aka Tom Polo, to the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
Well, let's take our last paper. That would be the Punch, of course. Tinubu triumphs after 171-day battle. Nigerians present wish list to president after Supreme Court victory. Okay, Nigerians have presented a wish list to Mr. President. That's a big one. Judgment shocking, dashed Nigerians' expectation, says PDP Labour Party. We also have on the front page of the Punch congratulatory message of course also from Ekpemu Polo, of course, aka Tom Polo, this morning. And that's all we have on the front page of the Punch.
Well, there are a lot of issues that will have to come back. Some of the concerns that have been raised on the front page of the newspaper this morning. But this is where we'll take a pause and head out to the news brief desk, where Mary Joseph is standing by to take us in. When we come back, Rise and Shine will continue.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421, and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lapses in counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with the reports that the Supreme Court has ended the 171-day legal tussle to nullify the election of President Bola Tinubu with the rejection of the election appeals filed by the People's Democratic Party standard-bearer Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi over the Labour Party. Reports say in the lead judgment delivered by the chairman of the seven-man panel, Justice Iyang Okoro, the Apex Court refused to consider the academic records of the president obtained from the Chicago State University, which Atiku sought to tender as fresh evidence to prove his allegations of certificate forgery against the ex-Lagos State governor. Away from that, the defense headquarters said that reports in the last 2 weeks intercepted stolen crude worth of $1.2 billion. This is as it vowed to anticipate terrorists from carrying out small-scale attacks on soft targets, adding that troops during the operations killed 73 terrorists, arrested 182 and rescued 68 hostages in 1 week. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said this in Abuja while briefing journalists on the activities of the military in the past 2 weeks. Reports say troops identified and destroyed 63 illegal refining sites containing 15 dug-out pits, 45 boats, 87 storage tanks, 128 cooking ovens, 1 pumping machine, 4 outboard engines, and arrested 14 suspected oil thieves. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court says that the non-functioning of the result viewing IREF portal of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, may reduce to confidence of the voting public in the electoral process. Justice John Okoro said on Thursday while delivering the lead judgments in the appeal by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party LP's counterpart Peter Obi challenged the victory of the then candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, President Bola Tinubu, in the February 25, 2023 poll-up to the Apex Court. We head straight now to the foreign scene where EU leaders have called for corridors and pauses as a means to get badly needed humanitarian aid into Gaza. After more than 5 hours of talks at the summit in Brussels, a joint statement urged safe and unhindered access. It follows days of disagreement with some members states arguing for a longer single pause in the fighting. Israel began bombing Gaza and cut off fuel, food and other supplies after Hamas attacked in which 1,400 people were killed and 224 taken hostage. Gaza Hamas-run health ministry says more than 7,000 people have been killed in the territory since then, and that its health system is facing total collapse, with a third of hospitals non-functioning and the rest other treating emergency cases. And finally, in sports, two-time African champions Eyimba are $1 million richer after crashing out of the inaugural edition of the Money Spinning Africa Football League following a 4-0 aggregate defeat with Riyadh Athletic Club. The two-time African champions crashed 3-0 to a commanding Riyadh side in Morocco on Thursday. Reports say they had lost their first leg 1-0 at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo, on Sunday before the 3-0 drubbing at the Stade Mohad Vin Casablanca. We'll have details of this and many more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's get back to the Rise and Shine where we have Francis and Oyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lapses in counting.
and lost the 180 days donated to it by the Constitution before bringing the said deposition sought to be admitted in this court. It has to be noted that appeals are a continuation of hearing of the matter in the lower court. As was pointed out by the learned senior counsel for the first respondent, A.B. Mahmoud Essay, the presidential election was conducted on the 25th of February 2023, and the first respondent declared the second respondent as winner of the election on 1st March 2023. Thereafter, the appellants filed their petition at the registry of the court below on 21st March 2023. If I may ask, what attempts did the appellants make between the publication of the second respondent's form EC9 and accompanying documents in June 2022, a year more than a year ago, and the date of filing the petition on 21st of March 2023 to obtain the documents from Chicago State University, which could have been used at the trial court? Again, what attempts did the appellants make to obtain these documents between the date of filing the petition and the conclusion of trial? To say the least, the above questions are critical in the quest of this court's efforts to decide whether the new evidence sought to be adduced could have been obtained by the appellants with reasonable diligence for use at the trial. And with due respect to the appellants and their counsel, I think they were a bit tardy and were not reasonably diligent in their attempts at obtaining the documents which they seek to have this appeal. In Adeleke Aserifa Asupra, this court held that where the evidence is available and could with reasonable care and diligence be made available to the applicant at the time of the trial, as in this case, the court should refuse to exercise its discretion to receive such evidence. From all I have stated above, it is crystal clear that the additional evidence by way of deposition of oath does not fit into the issues submitted for the determination of this appeal. The application, my lord, of the appellant's applicants in the circumstance is hereby refused and lost the 180 days donated to it by the Constitution before bringing the said deposition sought to be admitted in this court. It has to be noted that
we've concentrated on pulling Nigeria from the boot trap of depression, and we understand the sovereignty of the country. You don't need additional distraction to be able to concentrate on building a new economy for the people, an inclusive one for that matter. And the judgment of the Supreme Court put a stop to shenanigans, put a stop to innuendos, put a stop to lies or trial in the media and public place. The court has demonstrated indivisible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians, regardless of ethnic, religious, or any other biases. This moment of boot trap of depression.
Thanks for still being there. This is Rise and Shine, the Friday edition. And we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, big talk everywhere. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been confirmed by the